Everybody, welcome along to episode 143 of Percussion Discussion. Before we get into it, I'm going to ask you, as always, to please check out all of our social media. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, and of course, our world famous YouTube channel where you can find all the conversations, past and present. Please subscribe, give us a like and a follow on Facebook and Instagram as well. It really helps. You won't find any adverts on the YouTube channel, so there's nothing to get in the way of you enjoying all of the conversations. If you'd rather listen on the go, no problem. All of our conversations are available in podcast form, and these are free to download from all of your favorite podcast providers. If you could please rate and review, only takes a second. Well, it probably doesn't. It's probably a pain to do, but if you could, I'd really appreciate it. Help like-minded drummers find us and enjoy us as much as you do, hopefully. Anyway. On to today's guest. I'm so glad to be able to introduce this gentleman. We've been chasing each other around for about 3 or 4 years now to get this interview tied down, but we finally succeeded, and I hope you enjoy it. One of the busiest drummers on earth. He's been with James Blunt from the very, very beginning. If you've seen the One Brit Wonder documentary on Netflix, then you will have seen him all over it. He's played for the likes of Feeder. He has his own band with some good pals of his on the heavier end of the spectrum called King Herd. He's been Robbie Williams' drummer and musical director for some time now. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the super talented Mr. Karl Brazil.
Pleasure, mate. Finally, I've made it. It's taken, what, 2 years?
Two and a half years, you know, but
yeah, mate.
You've stuck with me, so we're here.
I must apologise. You know, all drummers, musicians have a varied amount of stuff going on that can change from one week to the next. So 2.5 years is a bit embarrassing, but I'm here and I'm excited to finally get to chat to the Matt Roberts. Congrats, mate. You've got, I can't believe 150 episodes is pretty special.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
We keep going, and but you know, please, there's no need to apologize, because you know, anybody who sees what you do, you must be one of the busiest musicians on the planet. You never stop. So I mean, let's talk about that. What are you up to at the moment? I know you're on we call it a break, but it's not really much of a break in inverted commas.
Do you know, it actually has been a break. I feel refreshed. I feel well rested. I'm actually in Los Angeles right now, as you can see by the beautiful weather. But yeah, this year has been pretty full on. As you know, working for James Blunt and Rob, the diaries, they run in sync, luckily for me, most of the time. So Robbie's Greatest Hits tour went for about 15 months, which was amazing. I had the best time. Best memories made, and the whole experience didn't want it to end, but it was fantastic. And straight off the back of that, I went into James Blunt's tour, which was the UK and European arenas. Jumping from one tour to the other, sometimes very taxing on the body and the mind, because you just don't get any clear days, really. You're in one bubble to the next bubble, and it's all a bit of a blur. But it was fantastic. Both brilliant tours. Then I went off and did what the wife calls the midlife crisis rock band, King Herd. And King Herd was a creation from COVID. So we went off and did some supports to Glenn Hughes, which again was mega. All these different experiences are completely different, which is what's a beautiful thing about it all. So I did that, and then jumped back on some Rob stuff. So it's been one hell of a busy time, but brilliant. And yeah, I had to put this break in, and I'm now here, and it's definitely more play than work at the minute. We're just over here doing a few little bits, tidying up stuff that's about to come up over the next few weeks. The next month is pretty hectic. I'm off to, where am I going? So when I get back, I'm going in with King Herd to do a bit, and I'm going in with Tony Iommi, my fellow Brum legend, to do some solo stuff, which I'm really excited about. Then I'm going to Hamburg with Robbie for a few days, then back out with Blunt in France. My memory's doing good here. Then we go to Monaco to do something with Rob, and then off to Toronto, where he's got a movie coming out. We'll talk about that in a bit. So that's the premiere. Then off to South Africa with James Blunt, and then I get to go home for a little bit. So it's one hell of a month, but I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest, Matt. It's what I've got used to, accustomed to.
That's 1 month.
Yeah. Yeah, it is mad. It's mental. But I've got used to the pace of life, and that's why we were saying early before we came on, when I do stop, sometimes the first week of stopping the adrenaline and just the momentum of things, sometimes my body crashes.
Mm.
And I feel sick for a couple of days or just sleep 12-hour shifts. That's just how it is. I think the body, it's not normal. The highs and lows of the music business when you're a professional musician are they're pretty big, drastic. It's first we did Hyde Park the other week, and I think it took me 2 days to come down because it was just mega, 66,000 people after the England game. After on the same day, I went on stage after we qualified. And I went out and seen all the crowd and went, geez, we've got a gig to do. Because I don't know if you're a football fan or not, but the adrenaline I feel in the Euros, it takes it out of you, the game, especially when we're scoring in the last minute all the time.
Yeah.
So, it's busy. It's busy month. And, what I've learned over the years now in my latter 40s is to make sure you make time for rest.
Yeah.
And you have to take some downtime. I used to be terrible for that. All us drummers, musicians, we want to say yes to everything, but there has to be a stopgap at some point.
You've talked us through the stuff that's going on. You're busy enough as it is, and then you decide to put together King Herd. Like there's not enough on the plate. Let's put this great band together, and it is a great band. It's right up my street. I hear it on Planet Rock all the time.
Thanks.
What was that all about, setting that up? I mean, I'm glad you did,
Well, when I was, before I was doing what I'm doing now, like sort of session drummer, if you like, I was I went to Walsall College of Music in the Midlands and met some great players, and I was in a band early there called Spoo. So basically, I went through different lineups before I sort of landed my first pop session gig with Bitter McLean. And when lockdown hit, I flew back from Melbourne, and COVID was a thing. We flew back, gigs were off. We were about to go to Vegas, and I was like, that's it. It's downtime. You've got to go and you've basically got to just go in quarantine in Bournemouth. So I did. And I was sat down there, and I was just walking every day thinking, what can I do? And I guess we all got itchy feet a little bit, and you start reflecting over COVID. Sure. And looked, I've personally found me looking back, appreciating the stuff I've done, because sometimes when it's moving so quick, you don't get a chance to go, oh, that was good last week. You're just on to the next thing. So I looked at all the things I'd done and thought about putting together a super group of my ideal super group with the guys I know and have played with. So that band consisted of 2 guys. The singer and the guitarist had never met. So we got Dave Taylor on vocals, who's the best rock singer I've ever worked with in my life. He's just got it. He's like he's Cannock's answer to Chris Cornell.
Yeah, exactly.
He really is. And me and Dave were in Spoo together, and we used to dine out. We had a strict diet, Soundgarden and Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, all that Seattle scene. So we never really got to flex it and do, fulfill ourselves with that. So then we had Tom Longworth on guitar, who I was in a band called Alaska. Tom's in Robbie's band, and the most phenomenal rock guitarist who's got OCD, which makes him brilliant at what he does. Just a mega accurate player, in totally in charge of his sound. So great writer as well. Me and Tom have written a lot together. So I put those 2 together. Ray Loverock, best rock bass player name in the business. It's his real name. Me and Ray were in Head and a band called Loverock together. So I put these guys together, and I thought, if I was starting out fresh, this would be the band. So then the next thing was to write songs. So we started a WhatsApp group, started banding ideas around, and just turned out that we wrote some really good songs during that period. Recording an album with Sam Miller, and Paul Sayer, who was managers at the time, just got us out there and put us on rock radio. The tough thing about this band is we're all busy doing other things, so trying to get us in one room is now proving difficult. Now everyone's up and running again, but we're back in the studio in a couple of weeks to get a couple of singles down, because we want to keep the fire burning, because we love it, and it is whether we've got time to do it or not, we have to make the time, because when we're together, we love it, and we've met good music, and it's not about earning money or or accolade. It's about expressing ourselves, and that's the style of music we all really get off on. So it's nice to be able to do it. It was never meant to be called King Heard. It was Heard, but we were worried about getting done because it was Peter Frampton's name that had that name originally. So I don't know what King Heard means, but it's stuck.
That sounds cool anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah, you have to come and see us.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, have you got any plans to do like a small like headline tour or whatever you call it?
I think we're going to put something in for October, providing the single comes out in September. We'll get some dates in. Probably only 4 dates around the UK for now, but there's talk of us doing some more European stuff. But I've got to see how the diary aligns with all the other plates that are spinning. There's a lot going on, but it's great to have something where you can express yourself in your own material. And I love playing that style of stuff. Big crash ride, snare kick. That's my bag.
Yeah, but do you know what? It's great stuff to listen to. I mean, I hear a bit of Pearl Jam in there and a bit of
everything.
It's Seattle stuff, and it's great.
There's a band called Filter I loved. I'm pretty sure it was a bit of a hybrid band that of various members, but it's no, not that song. I'm talking about something completely different. Let me get me in facts straight. Army of Anyone was the band that I listened to. That was a bit of a hybrid band. I don't know if you've heard them. I'm sure Ray Lucy was on kit for that. It's a great record.
Right.
But Filter, I'm a big fan of Filter as well. And so those bands, I'd call it anthemic sort of big riffs, anthemic rock, big riffs with melodic choruses. That's kind of the idea. So you get a bit of head nodding and then you go off and have a nice dreamy chorus, but it's all got to stay heavy. That was the criterion.
Is it weird, right? Coming from obviously, when you're out with the likes of Robbie and James and whoever else, you get kind of having, and I mean this in the nice way, you kind of get your backsides wiped for you. You just turn up, play, and leave in a certain respect, I'm sure. With this, are you taking? Is there techs out and stuff with you, or is it literally set your own stuff up and just do it like?
Good question. That. Do you know what? It is a bit more back to basics. We rehearse in Birmingham in a nice facility that someone kindly has let us use, where the gear stays, which is great, because we've got friends and people that want to be with us and come and we've got helping hands, and we're not shy of people wanting to come and do stuff, whether it's fly on the wall videography or someone's got a big van that takes around. So we've got plenty of help. But I'll be on. If we're opening for a band, I'll be on the side of in the side room or whatever, sticking my cymbals on the stands and going back to how it was. You gotta keep it real.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong. When I do Rob's show or Blunt, I still pinch myself, and I'm really grateful that I actually have a tech. Because when I was little, someone said, you can have someone set your drums up and give them a clean and, have a towel there. It's like, really? That's amazing. It's I still appreciate that stuff.
Yeah.
And I've got some really, I must give a shout out to Clint, who does my kit on Rob, and Hamish, who does my drums on James Blunt. They're really designated to the job, and they'll probably both tell you that I'm a real fusspot, but I'm not a fusspot in like, I don't mind a mark on the kit or anything, but I've got a bit of OCD like me. I have to have the same wing nuts, and I like the cymbals to be the same height and stuff like that. But it's just like getting in a car and wanting your seat right, I suppose. But I do really respect the guys that do that stuff for me, and I really appreciate it. So much so, when I go back to doing King Heard, that's another good reason for doing King Heard, because it makes you really appreciate, how things are on the other gigs. And that goes with travel as well, because there's a difference in certain tour buses and how you travel. There's lots of different levels, and it's good to taste all of them, because it just makes you appreciate it. At the latter age of 40, in the latter age, at the older end of 40, I go, this is good. I'd never be shy to put a kit in the car, but I haven't done it for a while, if I'm honest. And I don't miss it. I don't miss loading a heavy stands case up the drive at 2 a.m, which I've done that when I was 18. I used to play Sunday league football, but Fridays and Saturdays I'd drive to London and back with my mate Sean, who's now in Ollie Mercer's band, we'd drive down together in a state with the keys and drums. We'd do 2 shows a night in London, drive back on Saturday, I'd get in about 4 a.m. and I'd get up and play for the Land Rover on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. Sunday afternoon, I was just wrecked. But I never forget this because one of the Traps wheels broke on my stands case and I was living at my mum and dad's. 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd be like, up the drive. So I've got my stripes. It's not that I skipped that process. I've done plenty of loading, humping and dumping up flights of stairs and country gigs and all that. You know, that's part of the grounding and the process to make you appreciate what you end up doing now. You know,
you paid your dues. My opinion. Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
my dad always used to say, God rest his soul. My dad always used to say, because he used to help me from time to time, and I used to fill his garage with drums and lights and all sorts. And he used to say, "Why couldn't you play an harmonica?" Well, he used to really get annoyed after a big. I used to have double brace pearl stands, and why I had those, I don't know. And in cases, it would just look good, but really heavy. all that stuff is stuff I look back on and giggle at, really. But it's all part of the process, isn't it?
Well, you know, that's the thing. And let's be honest, the kit that you use is not the smallest in the world at the moment, is it? You know, have you used for a while now?
Well, I used on the Rob gig. Rob's got 30 years of music, so the kit's not there. The kit's not there for vanity reasons. Basically, it's a hybrid kit because if you've got, let's take Candy, which is as pop as it probably gets sonically. I've got a small snare, small punchy kick, and I've got triggers on those so I can fire off anything I need. Then if I'm going to do Let Me Entertain You or Strong, I've got the low fat snare and the 24 kick. So the kit is made up of 2. It's a cocktail pop and rock kit, really. Ideally, I love 1 up, 2 down. On James Blunt, I have 1 rack, 2 floors. I do have 2 kicks for the same reason, because James's music's evolved as well. Mm-hmm. Over 20 years since Back to Bedlam came out, which, by the way, he's touring next year, the album, you've got to come. But you're looking at artists that have got longevity and have got vast amount of music, and the genres have had to change to go with modern day music. So the kits both facilitate that situation, but I still try and keep it organic sounding, and I like it to look nice. But when I do King Herd, it's 1 up, 1 down.
Yeah. And
that's not just because I'm setting it up. Honestly. But,
love it.
It's gotta make sense, the kit. It's gotta make sense for what you're doing. Next year when we go out again with Robbie, I really would love to go. I'd love to do the kit on a 4-piece, but you know, there's so much exciting, expressive stuff to be played. Why not have a kit that you're going to enjoy yourself on? You know, and it's. I have got used to the look of the double kick, and also because of the dimensions and the space in between where my feet are now, my pedals and the hat. I've got used to being a bit further away. I just like my area. It's comforting. Like again, driving a car, just having things in the right place.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's right. And I'll be honest, it does look pretty cool as well, doesn't it? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I've got some stick over the years. People have seen 2 kicks on James Blunt and they've gone, really? You know, what you're doing? But if they come up and had a look at it from behind, they'd realise that the 20-inch kick is heavily dampened and more of a sort of, almost like a Mumford & Son acoustic folk kick.
Yeah.
The other one's a bit more open for wise men and some of James's older material. So it does make sense.
Yeah.
And it looks freaking great.
It does.
Yeah.
Do you know, the first time I saw you play live, this is going to bring back memories now, was, right, I'm trying to think of I think it was 2009, and it was in Birmingham. Is it the NIA, or it was that Stick It to MS? Remember the world record?
Yeah.
I was one of
thousands of drummers.
I think there was 500 and something, and it broke. And I went along, and I was like, "Oh, let's go and see." And I think you played Jojo Mayer, and I can't remember who else. Gavin Harrison was on.
I do remember that. It? You know, I do. I don't know what. I can't remember what I played, but I remember playing. I mean, must have been pretty young. It's frightening actually how much you can fit into a lifetime, because there's a lot of stuff now. And as I'm getting closer to the late 40s, Thank God for YouTube. I mean, I don't watch myself a lot because I don't like it, but it's amazing to look back on the clinics I've done and wonder what did I do on that day? What did I actually say? How? Because I think I'm more comfortable now with drum master classes because I have a lane, I have a sound, I do what I do. I've got a back catalogue of stuff I've played on. But when I was first doing drum shows or getting up to play, I was still kind of finding me and what I do. And I'm very much an improvised player, as you know, left-handed, left-footed.
Yep.
Never relied on the dots. And my ears are quicker than my eyes for sure. So doing drum shows when I was young was quite a nerve-wracking thing because I was like, well, what do people want from me? What am I supposed to be doing? And then I realised now that I just go and play as a song player, play and show people how I create and what I put into songs, and show people how I hear the groove, the beat, the pulse, the body clock, and what I choose to play and not to play. That's basically what I do, you know. And that's what I love about drums. I mean, there's so many great players, and everyone is very different.
Yeah.
That's what's remarkable about it. It's and not everyone's going to like what everybody does, but recently I did Zildjian Day with me and Ash shared the kit. A dear friend of mine, Ash. We've grown very fond of each other over the years, and we have a lot in common. But yeah, Zildjian Day was a really lovely eye opener, and I thought they handpicked the right players because everybody had such a different style.
Yeah.
To offer. It was mega. It was a fantastic. I think some of the videos are actually going to come out, but that was a particularly highlight of doing that sort of thing for me because not having moved to Zildjian so long ago, to be asked to do it for one and to be up there with those great names was phenomenal. Because I used to go to Zildjian Day as a kid. I went to the Forum, and I believe JR was on, who blew my mind. Love you, JR. He's a demon. And Andy Gangadine was on there, Manu Katché, Dave. I mean, there was a serious lineup in a big theatre.
Did you got the one in the Alexandra Theatre as well in Birmingham?
I did.
I think that was that Manu Katché? And then Jonathan Moffat was on, and
Steve Smith. It was just ridiculous. The lineup and the sound, the production, the sound. But when JR came on after a full day of people doing the thing and played Ain't Nobody on a 4-piece kit that looked like it could have been set up in a shop window, I went, there it is. There it is. He's just groove, taste. And he played the song. And I went, wow. And I realised that. I thought, yeah, you do drum shows. You've got to stick some songs in there because it's that's where we get to show how we can really hold it together. You know, with what my favourite drummer, it's no secret, was Jeff Becerra. He was born in this town, and my dad played him to me when I was 2 on an album by a band called Fool's Gold, which you can only get on vinyl. I'll send you a link to it. Yeah, but Jeff's on that album, and it's quite country. It's a couple of brothers called Fool's Gold, but it was made in 1977 when I was born, and I just fell in love with Jeff's playing from there on. Just the taste. When we had fade outs on records, and he'd do those best fills on the fade out, so he'd have to turn it up. But Jeff, I wish I'd got to meet Jeff. I mean, I've got goosebumps now thinking about him. He was just a beautiful player and a personality on the kit, you know, really special. But one of the greats.
That was, you know, you mentioned before about you couldn't remember what you did on that day. I'll be honest with you, it was quite a while ago. I can't remember what you played, but I remember the sound. I remember the sound of the kit and the feel. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is, you know, I mean, no disrespect to any of the others on, but it was like, who's this guy? This is. And I remember seeing, you didn't see Gretch that often at that point, really. There was. I
was very lucky there.
There was more. I was more mainstream. Should we say mainstream? I don't know if that's the right word. At the time, it was lots of Yamaha and Pearl, and I remember I was absolutely blown away by the sound and the feel, and I was like, yeah, this is.
Well, thank you very much. That means a lot. You know, Gretch came about by chance, really, for me, because Arbiter Drums I was working in musical exchanges in Birmingham, and bless Jerome from Sabian, I think he heard me playing in the shop, or Darren Bramley as well, who was at Arbiter. Anyway, the guys really got behind me, and give me a 5-symbol deal and offered me this arbiter kit, which was a one-lug tuning thing. No disrespect. I wouldn't choose to play it now, but I was just grateful of the support and that there was something there people wanted to get behind me and try and promote the product. So Arbiter at the time then somehow ended up distributing Gretch, and Nick, who was at Arbiter at the time, said, look, we've got Gretch coming in, we'll get you a renown kit. And I've still got it. It's 8, 10, 12, 14, 20. I'm going to give it to the Children's Hospital in Birmingham because I won't play it anymore, and I want it to go to a nice home. But
that's nice.
That kit was great, and I realised then, I thought, wow, Gretch, and they were back on the up then, and I started to do a lot more with them. We did an advert with Feeder in Rhythm with the three of us in it, and I guess my profile started to go up, and the kit started to get better. I went to a new classic, and then I got my first maple kit, and even through the James Blunt days, I think the first kit they gave me was a Catalina. It was a 26-inch kick. But the thing with Gretch, I made them all work, and I've got a particular way of tuning kits to my ear, especially a snare. And for me, where you strike each drum is the reason you get such a consistent, good sound. I guess it's a bit of everything. It's the heads, it's the technique. But I've just become sewn with Gretch, and I've played lots of kits, because when I go to Australia, or let's say I go to China or something on tour, I found for a while that Gretch is on the spec list of requirements, and they can't always get them. So I end up with a DW or possibly a Yamaha or something. And they're, all kits are good, but they're definitely different. And I'm never comfortable unless I get what I'm used to now. And that's not spoiled. It's just it's the climate I'm used to playing in sonically.
I mean,
but now Gretch have really spread. They've spread wide. They've got more. I think they've probably got more endorses than ever, but the product is high. And the best thing about Gretch is their history and their heritage. And when I went to the factory, which I was lucky enough to do with Cindy Blackman and Stanton Moore, we had the best time and an insight into these people that live and breathe and make Gretch drums every day to perfection in a really hot factory with no aircon, but they love what they do. And the vibe in there, the togetherness, this family that make Gretch drums and have pictures on the wall of these kits that have left and gone on journeys playing in front of 1,000. I mean, if kits had eyes and could talk, these kits, they should do a film like Cars, but it was incredible. So that when I went and seen all this, I went, wow, I feel really privileged to be part of that family, because there's not many backstories like that. And Fred Gretch even came and met me at the airport and gave me a book and stuff. So I just felt so privileged. It was lovely. Great company, great drums. Thank you, Gretch.
And it's no secret that a lot of players have recorded, non-Gretch players have recorded studio stuff on Gretch drums, is it? It's not a secret. No. There's a reason for that.
Yeah. I'm using the Brooklyn at the minute, which, if anyone's interested in details, the broadcaster's good. It's a bit more dead for me. And when you're playing outdoor festivals and there's not that much air, sometimes if it's the humidity's involved, the Brooklyn just sings a bit more. They're thinner shells, and they just seem to have a bit more resonance to them. But on Robbie's shows, we have a piggyback A and B. So I have a broadcaster as the B rig and the Brooklyn for the A rig, which is what I used at Hyde Park. It's Nitram Black Pearl. It's just my favourite kit. And I've got a Champagne Sparkle on James Blunt's tour, which is also a Brooklyn. Sounds incredible. I mean, literally, if you think about, this is boring, but I'm going to just give you a quick hint. These kits go in and out of flight cases from a hot, sweaty gig to cold Arctics travelling around. So the temperature is changing all the time. And most of the time, so there's no lug locks on these racks. They set them up, and the text, Hamish will say, it's just stayed in tune. It sounds great all the time. And I'm not one for changing heads if it sounds good. I like to just keep it going, why not? Unless it's the coated top wears away.
Yeah.
But it's that hot sometimes. I use an Emperor X, which has got the reverse done. And sometimes it's that hot that dot peels off.
Jesus, seriously?
Inside, yeah, it's happened a few times. It happened last year. And the sound of the drum just changes because it's obviously not an MPX anymore. And I'm like, oh, shit. But that's just to give you a gauge of how hot it gets, you know.
Jeez.
I mean, it rained the whole sound check at Hyde Park. So the kit and the cymbals got soaked because it wasn't covered. It was blowing in. And the sound got, our sound man, Joe Harley, who's one of the best I've ever worked with. He's fantastic. He said on the talkback, I really love the kit with the sound of water all over it. It's really easy to manage. And I thought, don't get any ideas.
Yeah, a very gated sound with the raindrops all over it, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's like electronic. It was weird. But yeah. Sorry to ramble on about that, but I just thought it's quite useful information.
It's a drummer's thing. Nobody's going to be bored here. Don't worry about it. But, you're talking to Gretch. I mean, the list of high class, top quality people who endorse them these days, it's huge, isn't it? You mentioned,
I don't know how they're making any money. There's a lot of us on Gretch now. I mean, Gretch is everywhere, but there's a reason for that, you know.
Well, our mutual pal, Nick Collins, yeah.
Oh, I love Nick.
Nick's a good guy.
Great guy, great drummer. And I tell you, I don't think I've seen anyone so young hold it down so well. I mean, I watched him with his dad at the Phil show, playing with my good mate Lee Sklar. They were awesome as a rhythm section. And I watched him with Genesis as well. And I just went, wow, what is he, 21 now or something?
I think he's 22 now, yeah.
Well, just nerves of steel. He's been brought up a little bit like I was. My dad was a guitarist, singer. I was just around it all the time. So I had confidence. I was with adults a lot. I was playing with adults. And Nick's just got it all. But he's got it here as well. He's such a good lad. And
absolutely.
I think he's on the up. He's on as if he can do much more. But he's in a great original band with Steve Lukather.
Yeah.
Trev Lukather, not Steve.
Yeah.
They're on tour with Steve. But yeah, he's in a great band. I think he's just going to go on to do more greatness. He's a great lad.
But
big fan.
Again, I caught him in Mike and the Mechanics last year. I can't remember, and he was magnificent. He was the sound of the drums, just beautiful things. Beautiful.
Yeah, that kit's awesome. I love the way it's tuned. Again, very unique sound.
Yeah.
But he had a good teacher there. I was just listening to Phil yesterday. What a player and a singer.
Broke the mold with him, didn't they? Broke the mold.
Yeah.
But there's one thing I wanted to. I don't write questions down, as we've already discussed. I think
it's all right, mate. You can shoot anything you like.
A page of A4 with stuff. It's not natural to do that for me. I don't want to be, But there's one thing, and I've spoken about this the last few episodes. But I really, really want your opinion on this, right? Or your views, whichever. And that is, how do you keep your diary? Because it must be. Is it a nerve-wracking thing when tours come in and you have to turn the pages and go, oh shit, you've got clashes, you've got this, that, and the other. How do you manage that?
It is stressful, of course it is, because if you're working for big acts, trying to maintain it all, anything can change from any day, especially if it's not a touring cycle, actually, because big artists aren't touring, they still do parties or corporates, as we call them, or might get called to do a one-off for the F1 or something in Saudi. You just never know.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing is the transparency has got to be, you've got to be very open and honest with everyone about what's going on and have understandings, have a depth in case something drastic comes up. Because even in life circumstances, you never know what's going on. So it is. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't stressful, because I don't like clashes. You want it all to work out. I think I'm very fortunate. There's a bit of fortune that's on side, because I get plenty of. Was that me beeping or you? Sorry about that.
I didn't hear anything. So
all right,
no.
I think you have to be ahead of the game. You have to keep a spreadsheet and do what I call heavy pencils, and just keep an eye on things. And also, if someone's employing me for the studio, and it's for a week, you have to say, look, just so you know, something comes in and it's a corporate for so-and-so, or you've got to have an understanding that you might have to hop off. Just like a drum show, which is why I'm quite sceptical about taking drum shows when it's in a touring cycle or artists are working, because I've had to pull out of a few. and I don't really like. I'm not proud of that. I've had to do it twice, and I dare say those people wouldn't ask me to do it again because of that. Because if they advertise and go to work on it, it's pretty embarrassing. So I've just learned how to manage it over the years. I manage myself. I do have people that help me with the diary and social media and stuff, but I've just got a good understanding with. I've been with James for 20 years. I've been with Rob for 15 years. And of course, my side project has to take a back step if something big comes in. So I've just got to have depths ready. And most of the stuff I'm doing, everybody it's got an understanding of where we're at. I certainly couldn't take anything on new because it's just, I'd create a headache. So I have learned to say no to stuff that you'd like to do that you think, well, I just take up the time. And, I love my jobs. I love the gigs I've got. Robbie's a great friend and guy to work for. So is James. It all works. It all works really well. And I've just had to be very, very upfront about what's coming in and what I can and can't do, and it works because I'm Robbie's musical director now for his tours, which is more responsibility, and I love it, but I have to be around to do that, and it's a really fun job. And then they're two completely different gigs in the way that live wise, it's all on ears with Rob, and it's click track, no wedges, and we've got dancers and choreography. James is wedges, no clicks, no moving parts, and it's a simple, more of a simple songwriter type show. So two different ends of the spectrum, and I guess I'm deppable on both, but James has got a really good drummer now that fills in for me when I'm not there. So everything works really well as long as everybody understands and you're honest about what's happening. Sometimes there'll become situations where you've got something in the diary you might have to move, or you have to have a chat with someone. But I think as long as you talk to the right person about it, it's fine. You can make things work, and as things come in, things get cancelled too. So there's understanding, and it works for both parties sometimes. So I think you just got to be organised, honest, and make sure you just stay in your lane and don't say yes to too much else around it. Otherwise, you'll end up at Spaghetti Junction. I personally don't like juggling too much, and I seem to have I've got the balance right now. The studio thing has to come as a secondary thing. So if someone says, "When are you available?" I'll look at when I'm not out doing gigs or corporates, and just go, that I can do it in that week there, and also make sure there's family time in there as well.
Yeah, of course. We haven't even
don't go down well taking a session if you've got a holiday booked. That's like,
no,
let's fight and talk.
Yeah, I find that really interesting, and it's something that's perhaps overlooked, and it's relevant to any musician, isn't it? It's not just a drummer. It's it just so happens that we're talking drums here, but
I think if you ask any musician, juggling the diary is definitely stressful, but it's just something you've got to stay on top of. That's all.
Yeah.
And it's a great problem to have. Looking at my next month, it's a crazy month. There's going to be lots of traveling and jet lag and stuff, but I'm still very grateful that things are busy. It's great,
Yeah.
I have this mindset of going, right, I'm going to get out there, I'm going to hit it hard, and then at the moment I'll be taking October off, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the way to do it, I think. I'll probably be ill for the first week.
At least you kind of know that's coming, and you can kind of prepare.
Yeah.
And then
absolutely.
Yeah. Is it nice?
Well, also, I don't like to. There's something nice in the diary. You want to do it if there's something nice coming up. All the gigs we tend to do are always great events. Really just great events, great moments. You look out at the crowd, you see people singing and having a great time, and it's nice to be able to facilitate that.
Yeah,
and be a part of it.
And they call it work. Hey,
I know it is work. It's great work. It's the best job in the world. I feel exactly. It really is.
But you mentioned that obviously your MD, musical director for Rob now. Does that what does that what role does that add to your already job of drums? What are your other kind of roles now then? Now you're MD as well. What do you have to do?
Well, I think the biggest thing is preparation. So, for Hyde Park, for example, we had colossal amount of stuff to do in the fact that we've got a new creative guy, brilliant creative director called Kim Gavin, who's fantastic to work with. We had new ideas for the show. Hyde Park needed to be something new.
Mm-hmm.
So from the start, it was to do a new intro, new piece of music that would be unique for Hyde Park, which we did a song which was "Are You Ready, Hyde Park?" We did a video with it, and it was magical, and it was a great sort of intense build up to the show. Then we look at the show. I sit down with Rob and say, "What do you want to do?" And because we'd done the Greatest Hits tour, he wanted to change things up a bit. We had a couple of guests, being Gaz from Supergrass, so I got to play all right with Gaz, which was just, thanks, Gaz. That was just mega. Yeah. And then we did Part Life, because part of the theme was Britpop, Rob's sort of nostalgic look back at the 90s. So we did Part Life with Danny Dyer, which was mega, with also 40 of the Coldstream Guards. So if you think of all these things, you can't just rock up on the day with this stuff. We had a big space in London where we had to schedule days for firstly going with the band and get the new material down. So we put new songs in the set with new content. We had 10 new dancers. They were doing choreography upstairs. So it's just liaising with all the right moving parts, and then you all come together in this big room to do the show. But there was just lots of things that needed to be prepped prior to it. New arrangements, new segues, new medleys put together. Like, for example, Rob's got so many tracks that he could do. You have to I go to him and say, "What do you want to do? Let's do a nice set with flow." So we merged Supreme and Millennium, for example, that go into each other. But you can't just do this flippantly overnight. You have to do mock-ups, let him hear it. And again, it's just preparation. So once all that's done, then communicating with the band, making sure everyone's got what they need to prep and learn. And then I think the biggest thing for me under the umbrella of musical director is having a nice room, people managing, keeping the vibe good, keeping the atmosphere good, making sure everyone's getting on, and giving 100% to the performance, which they absolutely did. I mean, I have to say, the band and the performance was mega, and it was a superhero band. It was brilliant. I was proud to be part of it. So for me, it's about making the atmosphere great for Rob, making it good for the band, everyone enjoying themselves, making sure it's all prepped and there's no holes in it, and it's bulletproof and top end show. And on that note, big shout out to our crew, because Joe Harlin, the front of house guy, has got the gig sounding absolutely like it's never sounded before. The clarity and mix of the gig is ridiculous. We had a guy called Will on monitors who's looking after an 11-piece band and 40 Coldstream Guards, and he did a mega. All our crew were phenomenal. So there's lots of moving parts on such a big show, and I've got to say, I enjoy the responsibility, and I really find it satisfying when you've done the show, you wake up and you read reviews that were 4 or 5 stars in all the tabloids. So it was job done, and Rob's on the form of his life. I've got this job at a good time because he's mega. Modern day Elvis, I call him. He's absolutely bossy.
Yeah,
he's in great shape.
Yeah,
he's top of the tree. And when this movie comes out, that's going to drop, well, just go and see it, because I've seen it and it's phenomenal. I can't think of anyone. I can't. If someone doesn't like it, then they've got an issue, because it's just something you haven't seen before, and it's one hell of a story. So,
yeah. So when's that likely to come out then, Karl?
I think it comes out Christmas Day.
Oh, right.
In America, and then maybe like around the 27th in the UK and Europe. But the movie premiere will be in December, so you'll see it knocking about pretty soon. And then he's got an album to follow that we've been working on. He's working with various people, but I've been fortunate enough to do some songs with him. And one of the tracks, actually, done a track called Rocket with Tony Iommi, which is very random.
Wow.
It's great. It's a rocker, and it's really, really cool. Right up my street. It's kind of, I'll just let you hear it. But yeah, Tony's done his thing on it, and there's some great collaborations on this record. Gaz Coombs is on there. It's It's predominantly a guitar record. It's a bit of a throwback to his old sort of 90s sound, but mixed with a bit of modern day pop as well. Let's face it, he can do what he wants, can't he?
Yeah, simple as that.
So it's, yeah.
Ah,
So yeah, that's. I hope that describes my duties as such.
it's interesting, but you get more and more these days. You seem to find that drummers are becoming MDs, and it's nice to see because in days gone by, it's been our keyboard player.
Is it like goalkeepers being captains? Is it because we can see everything?
Who knows? It may well. It may well
is.
be.
Yeah, there is a lot of drummers MDs. I think a reason. I mean, look, the engine room is very important, and we do have a seat, of course. We do sit down, but I think the drums are a really important part of the gig, and you do have a great view. You're kind of centre point for the band, and I don't know why that's happened. Really, I mean, there's lots of MDs, but I know there's a lot of good drummer MDs out there that I'm pals with that seem to. Maybe it's just become a thing. I don't know. But I never put myself up for that. To be fair, Guy Chambers was the MD, but he decided, he came off the road for a bit. He doesn't need to tour as much as we were touring, but he very kindly gave me the role, and Rob was really happy for me to step in, and I've really enjoyed it. It kind of happened by default because there's no doubt about it. Over the years, I've MD'd all sorts from. I've MD'd 5 Seconds of Summer with not playing, because when they first started, I was brought in as kind of a more responsible older rap. They were about to go big, and I was just brought in to kind of steady the ship and give them a helping, guiding hand, only for the first tour. Sure. And they were wonderful. Ashton's a good friend of mine, and they're great band live. I mean, they're like a young Def Leppard when they hit the scene. I was like, wow, incredible. So I did that for a while, which was nice because I was from afar, different perspective. Early days, I worked with Natalie Imbruglia as musical director, and lots of stuff back in the day. But this is probably the biggest chair I've had in terms of the size of the band and the sheer size of the shows. Yeah. But I have to say, the whole team, management, everybody, it's a dream. I love it.
Oh, I tell you what, hats off to you, mate. It's
thanks.
You're flying. What can you say?
Yeah, it's great. It's great fun. Oh. But that's why I said to you earlier, I'm very grateful for the different gigs I get to do, because they couldn't be more different. They really couldn't.
Well, we have to talk about this because it's very current. It's bang up to date. I think did the James Blunt documentary come out? Was it July? It came out early July. Was it June? I forget.
I think it was July. Yeah, happy to talk about it. Well, I'm very proud of that documentary, because I didn't know what to expect at first, but I seen a sneak preview, and what I think, I've had so many nice comments, by the way. I've had so many great comments from people I don't know and people I know. But what I would say about it was, it's 20 years documented now in a very great edit, very well put together documentary that documents really well James's story and James's journey. Yeah, really. But on a personal level, I was quite emotional watching it, because I just looked at 20 years of an incredible journey I've had with a very unique human being in James. And look, again, lucky to have had to have worked with someone that from the ground upwards, I've seen the whole journey. Yeah. Me and James are very good friends, and we've always got on well. And as good as what we do on stage together, off stage has been just as important, because we've spent many hours in airports, tour buses, God knows where. And we've seen each other grow up, have kids. And so it was quite emotional. I mean, Jesus had some horrendous hairstyles on there, that's for sure. And it's a really unique bunch of guys. It was a band experience, even though he's the artist, he's the star. He made it feel like a band. We shared the dressing room and started from the ground upwards. I literally auditioned for James by meeting him in Starbucks. I think it's in the documentary. I met him for a coffee off the back of doing some stuff, promo stuff with Elton John. I was recommended, and his manager was Todd Interland. I have to thank for the opportunity. Sent me a CD and said, have a listen to this first, see if you're into it. And I said, never heard anything like this before. So I went to meet James, and we got on well. And he said, I don't know what you like. He said, I wanted to meet you and see if I like you, because we're going to spend lots of time together. He said, he's come on. I've had great recommendation that you're a very decent drummer and you'd fit well. So I took a bass player with me on the day, Malcolm Moore, and we both got the gig and
Perfect.
played the Garage to 50 people and then played Portman Road with Elton John like a week later, and off we went. So very emotional to watch it. And I think it's been documented well. I was, we were little rogues, and we were on a stag do gone wrong from a very early age, but it was just so much fun and taught me, kind of crafted my sound, because I had to play a certain way. It's very organic, rootsy songwriters playing at, Don Henley, Levin Helm style, big drums, big cymbals, simple. James was very, very on me in a good way about taking stuff away and what if you don't do a fill there? So helps carve the discipline into me as well. But the journey was fantastic. But the documentary, I've had nothing but good reports about it. And I have to say, it's very funny. And James comes across so well in it. Brilliant. It's almost got this essence of Spinal Tap in this documentary, because he's so dry and he's so cutting, but with humour. I mean, he doesn't mince his words. He's a very honest guy. And I think he's come across brilliant. I think people that didn't know him or have never seen his gig have now gone, I'd like to go and see him live, because he's unique, he's got one hell of a story.
Oh, just the whole thing, You come across great in it, by the way, and it's nice to see that you're featured. And I'll be honest, I didn't realise that you'd been with him from the very beginning, as close to the beginning as you can get.
It's remarkable, really. Yeah, 20 years. So that's why next year we're touring the Back to Bedlam tour, and we're going to play the album in its full glory, start to finish, which it's only 12 songs, so I don't know what else we're going to do. We're going to have to do some hits, but that's going to be fun, because it's kind of a glory lap tour for James, 20 years of a very iconic album, Back to Bedlam. I just can't believe it's 20 years. It's ridiculous.
I was blown away. I looked at it and I thought, shall I have a, because I don't mind his music, and I know everyone says he's really funny with his little Twitter comments and what have you. And I watched it, and I'll be honest, I've watched it twice in a row now. Watched it on my own, and then my wife came in and I said, "Oh, this is what you're watching." I said, "This is James Blunt documentary." Oh, I'm not a huge fan. I said, "Just watch it," and she's like, "This is amazing. This is incredible."
Yeah, it's so well done. There's a funny they caught a real funny moment. Well, it wasn't funny at the time, but and all the flights. The flights are still going AWOL, but there was a flight that was cancelled, and I just couldn't get to the gig. But there's a real funny moment in it, and that's a good example of what we're talking about, having stressful moments of juggling, because that went Pete Tong, that particular moment. Luckily, the drummer was there to cover me, but he thought that I was coming in, so it was his birthday, and he got so hammered that he couldn't function, and there he was. So thank you, Stoffer, for filling in. You saved me bacon. But I went up to watch. This didn't make the cut, but I went up and got to the side of the stage for 1973 when James was on the piano doing his thing. And I looked at James and I went like that, and he turned around and he just gave me the Johnny Cash in. And I just thought, that should have gone in the doc. They missed the trick there. But he's very funny, and he's a good lad, James. He should be very proud of that story. He's now a father of 3. And do you know what? He's absolutely rocking it. He's playing all over the place. He's selling arenas out all over the shop again, and he's enjoying himself.
Well,
he really is, and deservedly so.
It's amazing. And do you know what was even more bizarre? In the middle of it, there's a clip of Bad Lads Army in the middle. Where the sergeant major's having a go at the guy. I don't know if you remember the bit. It's only a very short clip. And I went,
I don't think I do.
Oh, well, if you, well, I'm sure you don't like watching yourself, so you probably won't watch it again. But there's a clip of about 5 seconds because they're talking about military. And I knew, sadly, Marcus, he passed away I think he was only 40, a guy from Stoke-on-Trent who won Bad Lads Army, and it's him. He's in it. So,
really?
Yeah, the girl, I think, was he? Yeah, Liz, his partner, unfortunately, obviously passed away. And I said, was that
I'll have
Matt?
to watch it again now, haven't
Yeah. And she said, yeah, it was. I was like, oh my God, this is really bizarre.
I?
Said he'd have loved
No
that. She
way.
said, oh yeah, he would. But
I
it was
will.
back
I
then.
will watch it again at some point. But it's done James a lot of good.
Ah,
It really has.
phenomenal. It
It's
was.
a great title, isn't it? One Brit Wonder.
It's superb. And do you know, I was there's a friend of mine. He's on tour with Asia at the moment in America. And
Yeah.
I'd put a thing on Facebook, and Virgil Donati's on drums with them at the moment. And I said, oh, get your eyes, have a look at this. I said, this is amazing. And he said, we've watched this 3 times on the tour bus already. So that's the kind of effect it's having, which is cool.
It's great. It's just got some real tap. I mean, I think there could be a sequel because James has got some of the best stories, and he's not shy telling them.
Mm.
But geez, I mean, if we ever did a podcast, there's some great stuff that's really funny. I mean, he's just an intelligent guy, but he's also he can get it in the old days, get himself in the right trouble or tangle. Just with it's a sort of beautiful naivety about him. Because he's just he's had the upbringing he's had, and he's ended up being in the rock and roll world. I mean, probably one of the most rock and roll people I've met. They wouldn't believe that, but Star Sailor came on tour with us, and at the time they were a bit reluctant to come out like James Blunt, really. So they did the American Arena tour with us, and after the second night, the bass player Stel, a good mate of mine, he sat there. I'm going to try and do an impression of him. He was like, man, he said, this is like being on tour with Led Zeppelin. I didn't think it was going to be like this. Because it was just party central. James has got a motor, an engine for socialising like no one had ever met. And he trained us well, but it was just, we were young and it was the right time to experience it. But to just be on that journey, to watch him blow up all over the place was phenomenal. I never forget, he actually got to one stage, he won't mind me saying this, but his face was on both the first 2 albums, of which one did 11 million, I think got to 17 million or something crazy. And when we got to Jakarta or somewhere, there was floods of people at airports. And because he's had the train in his hat, he never really had security. He wanted to sort it himself, give someone a shot to the Adam's apple himself, but he never did. He's not like that. But he got tired of it, and he was heavily toured and tired. And he said, everyone wants a picture and an autograph. And it was getting stressful. And I just joked and said, well, you have put your face on both the albums, which have done 17 million. It ain't really, but bless him. He did check, he really appreciated I just said to him, it is what it is. And he's become a megastar, and his face has become very well known. But, when you're touring for a long time, it gets tiring because he doesn't want all that fuss around him.
Yeah.
He tends to be really accommodating to people, but sometimes it gets a bit much. And I can see that for anyone as famous as Rob or James, and when they're tired and they've just got off a plane or just come off a tour bus and your hair's sticking up and you want a bottle of water. Sometimes, no disrespect to anyone that asks, but sometimes you don't really can have a photo and can have it's timing. And if you get that multiplied by the day, I can understand why celebrities just get a bit tired, and sometimes just max out and go, that's it. I don't have that problem, thankfully, but I think it's nice to be nice, but sometimes we all just hit rock bottom, don't we, with tiredness and fatigue. It's just how it is. But he's one hell of a unique chap. He really is.
And is it from a drumming perspective? It must be a nice gig, especially as you said, you're on wedges, no tracks. Because I like playing to click, and I start to panic a little bit once my safety net disappears with the click track, and it's like, oh.
Well, I don't want to sound. I don't say that this might sound big-headed, so please don't take it like that. But I've always prided myself on having a good body clock, and I think that came from the early days of playing with my dad's country band, because my uncle Tommy was very on me for tempo.
Yeah,
and so was my dad. They had a good feel, the pair of them. And so playing with James, I always sing the lyrics in my head because that's how I know. I just know. And don't get me wrong, if you're tired, your tempos can change. But I watched James's foot, and I just learned over the years So I actually enjoy the challenge of making sure I'm on point with James, and I just know some of the they're tempo mapped in my head. So a lot of choruses could pull back, and we speed verses up and stuff like that. But that's something I've learned over the years. Playing with Rob when I've got Rob, I've got clicks. When I've got click track in my ear on the Rob show, we still have tempo maps because some of the stuff recorded in the old days, like She's the One, strings were done at Abbey Road, but it wasn't done to click. So we have to have a tempo map, which you have to learn a tempo map. So once I've learned the tempo map, you're kind of in. And if anyone had to do, you can do that. But a normal click that's, you know, on 1 BPM throughout the track, I love playing to that just for the just for the stimulation of it. But James, I enjoy because it's free and it's a challenge, and I sing a lot on the gig. The hardest thing about the James gig is keeping the wedges down in volume.
Yeah.
Because once you get used to playing with your ears, cymbals, you're protected. But when you play live with 18, 20-inch crashes, it's like, geez. So I wear mufflers that take it down by 7 dB or something like that. And on the Rob gig, I keep an eye. I've got a mark on my monitors to make sure it's not too late, because you can get so excited with adrenaline. Or if you're flown on a plane, your ears up in pops, you've got to be so careful. But yeah, to answer your question, I enjoy both aspects very much. But I do. I think if you're a drummer, one of the biggest things you can do is make sure you're in charge of your tempos. Make sure you got a good body clock, which you can train yourself to do, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of everything, really, isn't it? You know, feel, tempo, good sounding drums, a way to go, and that's that.
Yes.
Well, look, mate, I've taken up probably more of your time than I told you I'd take up.
I've just been given the time sign from out there because I've got something I've got to run and do. But I just wanted to say thanks for having me. I hope you've got some interesting answers. We'll do it again, and I can only apologise again for it taking so long. I hope it's been worth it.
It's been fantastic, mate. And like I say, being on my podcast will not pay your mortgage or your bills.
Well, I've seen the other names, mate, that have been on it. So it's an honour to come on and join the gang, join the list. Mate. And we'll do it again. And please come and see me at a show. Therefore, anyone that's watching, come and see us at a show. And I highly recommend watching either of the gigs I do. But if we can do it again, it'd be a pleasure, mate.
100%, mate. There's always more questions. So, appreciate it. Thanks so much, Karl, and good luck with the next month.
My pleasure.
Sounds like
see you out there somewhere soon, all right? Enjoy the summer.
I hope so. Take care, mate. Bye-bye.
All right, mate.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.